1 2 1 2. Mic check like I'm rapping again. Let's see. I'm not sure we're live. I ain't done this for a minute. Yes, we are. Excellent. I didn't announce this. I don't really care to. I was even considering I might just start doing these lives like on a private link, just because I really just wanna do my reactions and put the video up there for people later and then drop it up and all of that. I got new equipment and a new setup a while ago. I did one test run, and I said I was gonna start doing live streams after that, and I didn't. I did the Ren. Oh yeah, I did that Ren video. I need to find my phone. Oh, it's in my pocket. Right, let me write that on the list. Even though today what I'm doing is going to be a SJW live show, so it's less music related, but I think that Ren conversation is very much about social issues as well. So I got a lot of heat. A lot of heat in the comments from Ren fans and stans. Big them up, you know what I'm saying? Big up Fire in the Booth, big up Charlie Sloth, big up Ren. But yeah, I said I was going to delve more into his music, but today there's a lot of stuff going on. There's the Diddy trial. I don't know if you can hear that. My car making a noise reversing outside my house. And then there's Tory Lanez was stabbed in prison. There's a number of things going on, and I just want to start reacting to it. There's a number of things going on in politics. Keir Starmer is moving like he's really trying to impress and pull back the reform voters with no interest in what's going on the left. It's a hot mess. A lot of things are a hot mess. But first things first, let's get into the Diddy trial. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up YouTube, and I've seen bits and pieces, but I haven't followed anything properly. So maybe if we can just get obviously I don't want to watch the whole trial, that would be crazy. I want some short summary videos if we can get them. Shocking testimony. Don't want to support any of these news channels either, but it is what it is. So we'll go with this because it's 10 minutes. The others are that's nearly an hour. Shocking testimony in day one of Sean Diddy Combs' trial.
It's day one of the celebrity trial gripping much of the nation. Sean Diddy Combs, once one of entertainment's most powerful moguls, accused of crimes so heinous, he faces the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars. He's denied all charges. And just a warning, this story contains accounts, descriptions, and visual content of actual or alleged events that some may find disturbing.
Mom, how are you today, Mom? How is your son?
Can't talk about the case at all.
All eyes are on this New York City courthouse as the federal trial for disgraced mogul Sean Diddy Combs begins.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs goes on trial today.
Combs is inside the courtroom along with those prospective jurors.
He faces multiple charges, including racketeering and sex trafficking.
The musician famous for hits like Bad Boy for Life and Can't Nobody Hold Me Down. Charged with sex trafficking, transportation for prostitution, and racketeering conspiracy, the 55-year-old has pleaded not guilty to all charges.
Today was a monumental day when we're talking about Sean Combs, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy. At one point, he also had the actual key to New York City. So to see him today facing trial on federal criminal charges is completely a downfall of who Puff Daddy.
It's mad annoying. I still can't get rid of this line. There's one line there on my green screen. Got banging lighting and I had it last time. Today I'm struggling.
Who Sean Combs was.
Prosecutors allege he used his power to force women into prolonged drug-fueled orgies he called freak-offs, and then threatened them into silence.
The freak-offs, according to prosecutors, were these sex marathons. Some of them lasted days, and they were fueled by ecstasy or other party drugs. And women were not allowed to leave.
Highly anticipated at the trial, the testimony of Cassandra Ventura, the singer better known as Cassie, who is at the center of this now infamous video. The disturbing scene appears to show Combs chasing her down a hotel hallway in 2016, knocking her down and kicking her. The first evidence shown to jurors today, videos and photos from that violent encounter.
That's kind of interesting that that's like the first thing that they're showing, because obviously that came out, like she took him to court. It was a civil trial, that's all she was able to do. But it's the first thing they're showing, so that's the picture they're trying to paint, which is fair. It is fair, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, that's footage we've all seen that prevents us from any denial that he's done some horrible things. And I guess we'll get into this more, but also any kind of, I've seen so many comments, horrible comments on the internet, just saying, she allowed it to happen, etc. But if there's that level of violence going on in a relationship, then you can't fully say anyone allowed anything to happen.
Everyone was leaning in and focusing and watching this video. Literally, you can hear a pin drop in that courtroom.
A security guard who came onto the scene in the aftermath of that attack testified that Diddy had a devilish stare and Cassie had a purple eye. Another witness alleging he was paid to have sex with Cassie while Diddy watched and told to urinate on Cassie.
You heard so much about sex during the prosecution's opening, the defense opening. You heard about oral sex. You heard about missionary style. You heard about baby oil being put on people's body. You heard so much. This is not a case for the prude.
Cassie and Diddy were in a romantic relationship for almost a decade, releasing hits like Me and You.
This is the most generic video, isn't it? That's why I said I shouldn't really entertain these news stories. Obviously, a lot of us who followed some of this for a while know some of these details, and this is being framed to include everything again. I guess that's important though, for anyone jumping in and seeing this for the first time. They mentioned they're urinating on I think it said being told to urinate on. I've seen a lot of different discussion about that today. Some people claiming, or maybe Diddy's lawyer claiming that the man who claimed that to have happened said that she asked him to do it, not Diddy. But then TMZ have reported that's a lie. That's not what was said in court. We'll try to look that up. Actually, let's look up and see where that TMZ report is.
I know you're the one I wanna give it to. I can see you want me too. Now it's me and you.
Her graphic and disturbing 2023 civil lawsuit against Diddy changed everything, helping spur the federal criminal investigation into the mogul. Diddy has denied these allegations and settled that suit without admission of wrongdoing.
Mom, how are you thinking?
Diddy's mother and children arriving to court this morning to support him, along with Combs' spokesperson.
Obviously, this is like a horrific time for the family, so they're just trying to hold steady in their faith and make sure that they take care of each other.
And how is Mr. Combs feeling?
Upbeat. I think, obviously this is a huge deal, and so he's just ready to have his side told in open court.
Inside the courtroom today, Diddy smiling and blowing kisses to his family.
He's very observant as to what's going on in the courtroom, and he's taken part in his defense.
Both sides delivered their opening statements, making their case. The all-female prosecution team saying that Combs used a trusted inner circle to commit crime after crime, including kidnapping, arson, and sex crimes. Prosecutor Emily Johnson saying, "This is Sean Combs. To the public, he was Puff Daddy, or Diddy, a cultural icon, a businessman larger than life. But there was another side to him, a side that ran a criminal enterprise."
The prosecution is alleging that it was his inner circle that enabled him to be able to engage in these acts, but also hide these acts from the public and for it to go on for so long.
At least 3 alleged victims of Diddy are expected to testify, including Cassie, and a woman prosecutors are referring to as Jane. During opening arguments, prosecutors alleged that Diddy forced the women to participate in so-called freak-offs and instructed Cassie and Jane how to look, to dress in lingerie, wear tall platform high heels, and have manicured white nails. Diddy's defense arguing the sexual relationships were consensual and not coerced, saying the rapper lived a swingers lifestyle.
The defense wants to say that these women are all adults. They're all consenting and willing participants in these freak-offs.
Defense attorney Tenny Garrigo saying in her opening statement, that may not be what you like to do in your bedroom, but you're not here to judge him for his sexual preferences. She later added, being a willing participant in your own sex life is not sex trafficking. That disturbing video was also part of the defense's opening arguments, plainly saying it was an instance of domestic violence.
Just going back to what I said before, it's just hard. I didn't realize that the trial would be, I mean, obviously there's a long way to go, but it would be so directly just around this story that we already know, that a lot of that reports made out she can't charge him for now, but obviously it's not her charging him. There's federal crimes that they're taking out of all of these scenarios. And highlighting, so it looks quite straightforward, right?
Garrigo saying domestic violence is not sex trafficking. Had he been charged with domestic violence, had he been charged with assault, we would not be here right now.
But domestic violence then followed by trafficking someone from one place to another may legally amount to sex trafficking. Like, they can argue that, or they want that. Like, the mad thing is, like, they're having to use domestic violence and like explain the domestic violence was what he's done in their defense. Which I actually saw a meme or like a post today that was like, yeah, the defense message today was Diddy is a terrible person, he's done terrible things, but not sex trafficking, and the prosecution was the same, but he has.
The defense said that Sean Combs may be a lot of things. He may have committed domestic violence, but those aren't the crimes the defense said that he's charged with. So in effect, the argument is he's a criminal, just not the kind of criminal they say he is.
Mad.
The first testimony of the trial taking jurors to Los Angeles, March 2016, in the hotel where that surveillance video was taken. The first witness, an LAPD officer who worked security at the hotel, he says he responded to a call for a woman in distress on the 6th floor.
When he got to the floor, he noticed that there was glass on the floor, that the vase and the flowers were broken.
The security guard described going back.
Diddy's so pissed. This is what he thought his power could avoid. You know what I'm saying? Like, he paid off this hotel. He paid off Cassie. He thought, oh no, like I can. But all of that, once now they've made it into a federal crime, all of that is out the window. He was just trying to avoid this being all put through a court system and discussed. And like, his kids are there watching it, which is mad as well. I see that Safari comments something about that today. That it must be a bit mad for them. But obviously, I don't know, I'm assuming he's allowed or wanted them to be there.
Back to Diddy's hotel room and standing in the doorway while Ventura grabbed her things. Inside, another man sitting at the corner of the bed.
So from the very start, the first witness brings the jury into that hallway where he said Sean Combs looked at him with a devilish stare and Cassie Ventura had a purple eye.
Sean Combs tried to offer him money, to give him money to make this go away, and he said he wouldn't accept the money.
The second witness to take the stand, Daniel Phillip, a man who said he was paid to have sex with Cassie on multiple occasions at several high-end New York City hotels, while Diddy watched. The witness said he was paid between $700 and $6,000 each time.
So Mr. Phillip agreed to go to the Gramercy Hotel to do a performance for a bachelorette party. At least that's what he thought. But when he got to the hotel, to the room, that Cassie opened up the door. He did not know that was Cassie, and that she told him, well, it's my birthday and my husband wants to do something special, so can you give me a massage with this body oil, and then we can just take it from there and see where it leads.
Diddy allegedly in the corner masturbating, wearing a bandana over his face. During these meetups, he says Diddy would often give directions and at times tell him to step off and back up because he was going to get some.
Sean Combs's children, his mother, came to court to support him, but when the testimony became graphic, his daughters stood up and walked out. And they...
Okay, maybe Safari didn't see this, but yeah, you would hope so, or you'd hope like you'd ask them to, or but at the same time they're gonna hear it, innit? This is what's happened in your life. This is what is coming to light.
Came back in at one point. The testimony got more graphic about ejaculation, about urination. That was too much. They turned and walked out again.
Philip also described witnessing Diddy drag.
So I wonder if they just walked out because they're like, I'm not feeling this. I can't. I'm not going to listen to this part.
And hit Cassie. When asked by prosecutors why he didn't intervene, he testified, "My thoughts was that this was someone with unlimited power, and chances that even if I did go to the police, that I might still end up losing my life." Cassie, who's now 8 months pregnant, is expected to take the stand tomorrow.
Cassie's the case. Cassie Ventura, who has not spoken about this publicly except in a civil lawsuit, is taking the witness stand as a star witness.
Her husband and father of her children spotted at court today. If convicted, Combs could face life in prison.
I'll say something actually about, so let me just stop there. I don't know what it's just jumped onto. One thing I'll say about the Cassie situation, right, is like, cool, she took him to court, she put the story out there, she wanted it told. So I assume she would have wanted to take him to criminal court, and this loophole of her being able to do so, like of him being charged anyway, and her being able to support that is a good thing that she may want to take part in, but you also, you can be summoned to court and made to do that. So what's a bit problematic is they're not exactly doing it for her. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not like her case where they may have to treat her with certain, like her wishes with a bit more respect, or, do you know what I mean? Like I know she's made requests for like videos of these freak offs she's in or whatever not to be shown, for example, and they've gone ahead and said, no, we're going to show them anyway. So they're not taking her wishes as a victim survivor in this kind of scenario fully into consideration. And I just point that out to say, like, cool, I'm glad this is happening because it's something that needs to be highlighted, and the system needs to take more action on this type of thing. But let's not pretend this system actually really does care about women like this. Yeah, they don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? They're going at Diddy because they want Diddy. They've realised there's a big case there to be had, and they're going for it. I'm not getting into no conspiracy. I'm not trying to say, they were trying to take him down because he was buying the TV network or any alcohol company or any nonsense. Not saying that's impossible either, but I'm just saying they don't give a shit. Yeah, they don't really give a shit about victims, and cool. We'll take the positives out of it, but I will also call them out. I want to try and check TMZ, yeah, because there was something they were saying about TMZ claiming this graphic new details. That might be what it's from. Bribes and pizza. That's a more recent one, right? I know TMZ are like idiots, but I'm sure they're definitely going to give us the stories. Let's check this one. Let's give it a go.
Welcome to TMZ Live. Harvey Levin here. Charles here. The Diddy trial is underway. There have been opening statements, and there is now testimony in the case. And the opening statements kind of predictably laid out the prosecution's case and Diddy's defense. But what?
Also, like, yeah, just going back to what I was saying previously, it's like that's what reminded me of it. It's like even these sex acts and all that. There's a lot of shaming on Cassie on the internet about that. You know what I'm saying? More than any I've seen shaming Diddy. You know what I'm saying? So does she want that said? You know what I'm saying? Like I don't. It's a weird one, man. You know what I'm saying? Like how much. There's a page that shared a great tweet today. Maybe I'll get it up and read it out. It was quite long. There's quite a few pages that I used to love her. It's a great Instagram page for old school hip hop. But they shared something today, and she was saying about not wanting to create, like why she hasn't spoken on this stuff, because she doesn't want to create a space for survivors to be shamed in the comments, because that's what seems to be happening most of the time.
The prosecutors started with a bang, with a statement that clearly they knew would get a lot of headlines, but more importantly, get the attention of the jury, talking about details, graphic details from the freak-offs. And
we should warn the people watching this, this is going to get graphic.
Right. There's a reason that they last week kept saying that to all the prospective jurors, it will be graphic. What was said this morning by the prosecution said that Diddy hired escorts for these freak-offs, and that it wasn't just sex, there were other acts that were going on. The one they said that really got everyone's attention, they claimed that he hired escorts, on one occasion hired an escort and forced him to urinate on Cassie. And that he forced not only the escort to do this, but Cassie is the way the government lays it out.
So we talked about this in our morning meeting today, so let's just be...
So obviously I said this before, I was saying that people were claiming that, or Diddy's lawyer was claiming that Cassie had asked him to do that during this whole encounter. Not Diddy forcing or whatever, but they were like, nah, TMZ, someone in the comments was like, nah, TMZ said that's not what happened. I'd kind of read that as if they countered that claim, or maybe it's just because they worded it like this. I mean, maybe they'll lead on to it now, I don't know.
Real here. This is shades of R. Kelly. And that
the reason they brought that up first.
I mean, I don't think there's any question that R. Kelly paints a picture that kind of resonated with everybody. And the prosecution came out of the gate with something that sounded similar.
They want to show him, they want the jury to see him see Diddy parallel to R. Kelly, who everyone knows is going to be in prison for almost all the rest of his life.
And so,
so if you got him convicted,
of course, and that's
you want it right,
and that's effective.
Yeah.
They also, and I think this is going to become
a
really important part of this case on both sides. The prosecution painted Diddy as a violent, jealous man who could not handle any attention heaped on Cassie by any other man.
Right. And that was part of their argument around the videotape, which obviously they mentioned as well. They talk about that beating, and the government was setting up what they know that Diddy's side is going to say this was not about forcing her to stay. This was an argument about jealousy, about she thought I was, found another phone number. So the government is trying to rebut that already. Right?
Well, yeah,
saying,
and the defense already came out of the gate in their opening statements addressing that. And they are saying that, A, Diddy is a violent man. They said that he has a huge anger issue, controlling his temper.
They said there's domestic, yes, they said, yes, there was domestic violence.
That's the key. That's the key. They are saying that this relationship was steeped in domestic violence. And they're alleging on both sides it was the nature of their relationship. Now, domestic violence is a crime, but it's a state crime. He's not being prosecuted
for that.
He's
being prosecuted
so
for. And
that's
they also
where,
reminded the jury of that.
And that's why they're raising it right now. They're saying, look, we're conceding it. There was a lot of domestic violence, they say on both sides. But if you want to target Diddy for a domestic violence abuser, guilty as charged, it's just he's not charged here. This would have been a state crime. It's not your job. Right. So they're coming out of the gate trying to diffuse
what they know is coming next, which is the Cassie video. Right.
Yeah, and look, I think that's a pretty sound strategy to basically concede on the issues that they can't really win. There was some violence. That video tells a pretty vivid story, but that's not what he's on trial for. However, I think the prosecutors have a pretty interesting case. It sounds like they're sort of kink-shaming Diddy about his private affairs, but the further you get away from the norm, where you have escorts who are saying that they were maybe ordered to urinate on Cassie, it starts to look like it can't be consensual, and that's what they want to convince the jury, is that no one wants to be urinated on. So saying these were consensual terms of a relationship gets harder to believe to a juror once you've established that he's doing things so far outside of the norm.
Yeah, and so, you know, the defense said essentially, look.
I hate watching. I hate about watching these things. Obviously, journalism. That's why I get cussed for this all the time. Journalists, they say, are supposed to be impartial or whatever, but you can see where certain things lean, or they lean to impartially saying something that's going to create certain thoughts. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, they have an interesting. They might say, I said the prosecutors have an interesting case, but it's not like, I felt like saying the same thing to the defense. I don't give a shit about all of that. Like, I'll just say my opinion. Fuck all of that.
This is his lifestyle. This is his life. And that they are essentially trying to go inside Diddy's bedroom to prosecute him when they couldn't get him elsewhere. It's stunning to me that this parallels exactly what one of the lead lawyers, Mark Agnifilo, told us in our documentary, The Downfall of Diddy. I believe it was the second installment. This is what Agnifilo said, and they presented essentially this to the jury.
Let's switch our focus to the government. In my opinion, I'm just going to say it the way it is. No friend historically of the successful black man, okay? None. And they start making this case, in my opinion, as a takedown of a successful black man. Here's a man who has made some of the most important businesses owned by a black man. Run, owned, created, founded. The vision was that of a black man. What have we done? We have reduced him, not everyone, but a large amount of our society, to being a monster.
I'm never going to say that there's not truth to that. People know, obviously, I speak about systematic racism in so much of what I do, but I'm never going to say that's not a truth. But look at this guy. You believe this guy even cares about that? You believe this guy actually thinks that? Like, when they start weaponizing a narrative like that in order to defend abuse against black women, like, pull the other one, mate. Do you know what I'm saying? You're having a laugh. But it don't mean we shouldn't talk about it at all. Do you know what I'm saying? It don't mean we shouldn't say, like, yeah, cool, like all the similar white celebrities that this shit should happen to. You know, that it happened to, that Hugh Hefner got away with this stuff for years. Like, and nobody said nothing, you know what I'm saying? And he's still celebrated to this day. I wrote "fuck you, Hefner" on the day he died on my Facebook back then, because I for exactly those reasons, you know what I'm saying?
That should make us shake in our boots.
So and that's essentially what Tony Garagos said during opening, that this is that she said the government has no business in his bedroom. They have no business judging him or trying to charge him with crimes based on how he lives his life consensually in his bedroom.
So there are there are three main charges here. There's racketeering. The difficulty prosecutors have in this case is racketeering is usually an organization. This one, they're focusing on an individual. The only person charged with racketeering is Diddy. Right. And they're saying essentially he ran a crime organization centered around all of this. The second thing they're arguing is this interstate transportation, which is what we call the Mann Act, which requires force or coercion or duress. And that's going to be a huge point that the defense is going to raise, namely that did these alleged victims, who were ex-girlfriends, most of them, did they do this consensually, or were they pressured to do it?
Well, the prosecutors did talk about that, not so much with Cassie, but with another ex-girlfriend who they're referring to as Jane Doe, and they said that she is going to testify that she was, yes, she was, you know, having sex with these escorts, but she always wanted them to wear condoms, and Diddy forbade that. So they are not going to wear condoms. and she says that she admits taking drugs, and she's going to testify to that, but that she is going to say that she only took them to get through it, because this was not something she really wanted to do, and that Diddy was. There's the coercion that the government needs to show the jury. So.
But the third one is this interstate transportation of a sex worker, which doesn't require fraud, duress, or coercion. That's the one, in a way,
they kind of got him on.
Yeah,
because he's admitting that.
Well,
he's admitting.
No. But you know what the issue is? The issue is, are these sex workers?
Right.
And that's going to be a big part of this, because if they are...
It sounds like they got him on at least two of them. I don't understand the racketeering part. Yeah, they're saying that racketeering is usually at a group, and it's all about organised crime. It does seem like, okay, we can see there's crimes happening in here, and it does seem quite organised. It organises parties. So yeah, but I just don't know legally, and I don't know where that fits. But the other two, it seems like they got him.
Are sex workers, and the jury believes it, and they did cross state lines.
Yeah.
He's going to have a tough time with that third charge. But the argument they're going to make is these people, they were men, were not sex workers. That's going to, again, this is going to get
then the definition of what makes and
what makes somebody a sex worker.
And is that are one of those sex workers, one of the escorts, going to be testifying for the government, saying yes, I was a sex worker? If they have that,
our information is that we know of at least one person who has been subpoenaed, who they say is a sex worker. This guy says he wasn't a sex worker, although concedes that he was in that room having freak-offs with Cassie, as Diddy watched. So that, there are three very different charges here, and they're all going to be kind of intermingled in terms of the testimony, but ultimately the jury is going to be told, look at this, here are the elements, look at this, here are the elements, and look at this, here are the elements.
By the way, just a couple quick things, a little bookkeeping. The jury that was finally seated this morning, 8 men, 4 women. Reportedly, the 8 men are split evenly, 4 men of color and 4 white men, and the women are all women of color. So interesting. We'll see what that does. And Diddy's, we should also say Diddy's family, his kids were all there. I don't know if they're going to be there every day, but all of his kids, the twins, his sons were all there.
And before
to support him.
And before court started today, he was in court reading a Bible.
Yes, and actually, I just saw a report that says that he has been at every opportunity reading that Bible while he's in court.
Hi, it's Tasha from Brooklyn, and I mean, we've moved past the 6-pack of white women on the jury, and we've arrived at 8 men and 4 women. So I still think there's a big bias here, especially if the defense is mounting this narrative that, on some level, boys will be boys. Like, we can maybe allegedly commit domestic violence, but we also have our kinks, right? And I think that naturally will lend itself to some more sympathy from the male perspective, if I had to be honest. But I'm also honestly very surprised that the jury won't be sequestered, given how much information is out there.
Stop right now. That's crazy. I want to hear what this video is about to end, but we'll hear what they have to say about this. But I didn't know that. Obviously, anyone who's watched my channel before and seen me speak on the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, yeah, and you saw the power a white, powerful man got away with in that courtroom, like 100% bang to rights, guilty, showing evidence of him being guilty of domestic violence, all the same things that here. But there's an unsequestered jury, and social media and pushing the narrative on the internet literally controlled the outcome of the trial. Like there's no way around it. And this is what these guys are doing now. Yeah, this is what Diddy is doing. Diddy is pushing out. He's got a lot of power, a lot of media power. He's pushing the narrative on the internet. Every day he's got a team pushing stories where they're going to twist them. So now the story being pushed is, oh yeah, Cassie's the one who asked to be urinated on, all that. Like whatever it may be. Same thing Tory Lanez done. Tory Lanez still doing it to this day. He's spreading misinformation. There are 47 exhibits of evidence against Tory Lanez in that trial. There's only one video on YouTube showing those. I'm going to do a reaction to it one day, so then there'll be two. But it'll be me reacting and just highlighting parts of it. But all of the stories are just following the narratives of whatever kind of rumours that those guys are planting themselves. So, like an unsequestered jury, it's impossible for them not to hear all of that. And also, this is different because there is a lot of the public against Diddy, yeah? But it's impossible for them not to be influenced. And it's impossible when they do see the supporters of those people. Like, juries' names are eventually released most of the time. It's hard to get them to be kept private. They're like kept private for a certain period of time. When you start seeing the abuse victims get on the internet, those jurors like send someone to prison, they're gonna like be sitting there thinking, "Oh, I'm eventually gonna get that abuse. No, it's not worth it." You know what I'm saying? It's very mad that they don't sequester any jury in such a high-profile trial.
You hit on something, because I got to tell you, I don't know how this jury avoids social media. You open your Facebook page and boom, there's a feed.
I don't know how exactly. If they go onto social media, they're gonna see something about the trial. The judge has said they are not to watch news or
impossible
or use the internet.
It is
how is
just impossible for a 9-week trial. That is going to be the biggest hurdle to avoid a mistrial. Okay, we're going to take a break.
All right, when we come back, they are back. That would be one Taylor Swift.
That's the craziest part. These people, they want, like, it might be Diddy's team that went for that. It might be Diddy's team that pushed to not have a sequestered jury, because then it gives them the possibility to push for a mistrial at some point. Very, very sticky, problematic angles, yeah? And yeah, I hope we don't see what we saw in the Johnny Depp trial. Obviously, the Johnny Depp trial is even worse because it was televised. But again, that was a request of Johnny Depp. He wanted it televised so that he could control the narrative on social media. And some people, his fans made the argument, oh yeah, we got to see it for ourselves, so that proves we got to see the evidence. But when you look at how dumb they are and how they interpret the evidence when they're reading simple headlines like that are designed to push a narrative towards them, instead of actually analysing the actual content and also the stuff that's against him, not just the stuff that's against her, you realise actually stupid people on the internet shouldn't be watching this stuff and making their opinions, because they chat rubbish. I want to get into the Tory Lanez story next while we're on that subject. Tory Lanez. Let me get this up. Tory Lanez. No, not Tory Lanez type beat. Tory Lanez stabbed. Should we watch Academics speak on it? Because Academics loves Tory Lanez. Yeah, he's a abuse supporter. He's a full-on abusing women supporter. Yeah, let's see what this pagan has to say.
I see people spamming on Kick that Tory Lanez got stabbed. No. Wow, okay.
Yes,
Let's deviate from that case for 1 second to handle this, just because it's important. I'm not going to do this much often because I want to really lock in on his Diddy case. But apparently, Tory has been stabbed in jail. He said this isn't how Tory wanted to get out of prison, but he is. After suffering a prison yard stabbing so bad he needs hospital treatment, he was apparently on the yard in a California correctional institution at Tehachapi on Monday when another inmate stabbed him, according to sources, including one law enforcement. It's unclear what the motivation of the attack was, but one source tells us that Tory was rushed by an ambulance to a nearby civilian hospital in Bakersfield. Just by last week, Tory posted a picture of himself looking pretty buff behind bars and bragging his next album will be dropping soon. Where's that picture? Let me see if I can find the picture. Sorry.
Academics wants to look at Tory Lanez looking buff.
He's trying to stab up the boy, huh? Oh my God. Tory been looking a little bit big right here. Pause, right? Yeah.
Why for that?
So it says the artist serving a 10-year sentence at a California state prison for the 2020 stabbing of Meg Thee Stallion. Oh, not stabbing. Shooting, I'm sorry. Of Meg Thee Stallion. Tory and Meg are battling each other in court. They're still battling each other in court. She's accusing him of enlisting various bloggers to continue to public smear and cyberstalk her. And we're told that Tory's stabbing injury is non-life threatening. I'm going to hit Tory's people to see if I could get an update.
That's interesting though, because I saw that the first time, non-life threatening. All the kind of reports kind of suggested it wasn't a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Someone can get stabbed and it's like they've had a graze. You know what I mean? They've been swiped. It's not really like proper juking. You know what I'm saying? Why for that? But then I started seeing the reports saying, I stabbed 14 times, both of his lungs collapsed, and I'm like, cool. I wonder what's really true, but I'm pretty sure there's some embellishment from Tory's camp, because they, like I say, all they ever do is try to push public perception to make people feel sorry for him, to get the people who think he's innocent to keep pushing like his agendas. Because let's keep it real. Tory Lanez is never getting an appeal. I'll stand on that. Come back in the comments and laugh at me if he ever does. He's never getting an appeal with how much evidence he's got against him.
I don't like putting people I don't like putting people like on the spot like this, because I could call him. But
hurry up, mate.
But I'm asking his team if we have a status update on him. I want to send my prayers to Tory. Tory is obviously, again, no matter how easy or how, he always seems happy when I speak to him. Tory is incarcerated. And, it's not all roses. Yeah, he's made an album. He still pops his shit. He's always been a very jovial, very proud, very resilient individual, but he's in jail at the end of the day. And him being in jail, actually not
shoots
jail,
women,
prison,
mate.
You know what comes with that. There's a lot of bullshit. It's not the nicest place. And, of course, shit, if you got niggas on the street that want to test you, somebody in jail going to want to test you and look like maybe he was stabbed. It's good to know it was non-life threatening. Non-life threatening, that's very important. But it is a little bit concerning if he was actually rushed to a hospital. That's not a medical facility within the jail, because it shows that if they need a civilian or outside of jail hospital to deal with his injuries, we got to be thinking at minimum maybe several stitches, maybe some, could be, you never know. I don't want to speak some of these things into existence, but if, they have a medical facility and a ward at most prisons, usually they could treat
fair point still.
Certain lacerations.
As far as that,
this seems like it might be serious. However, we're getting
as far as that, yeah,
threatening. Okay,
the reports
keep
of how
Tory
serious.
Your prayers, and as soon as I get an update, if I get an update this stream, I will let you guys know.
No prayers from me, mate. No.
Okay. His team did hit me. Okay, I think I'm safe to say this. Apparently, yes. So they're confirming something happened. They're not giving me much details, but they did say at this point they haven't spoken with him, and that's also concerning as well. So, as soon as his team gets a handle on the situation, speaks to Tory, confirms what's what, and they relay that to me, I will surely let you know. But it appears that maybe his team at this point, they're not all the way in the know of exactly what's going on, and I would imagine maybe Tory's at the hospital right now. He doesn't have to live.
This is an early report in it, so we need to get to one that came a bit later, that gave a bit more details. Tory Lanez stabbed in. I don't want to support Fox News or NBC or any of these pagans, but it's just one of them things, isn't it? Let's go to hip hop media.
And Tory Lanez, once again, bro. Tory, I've known Tory. Tory's been in the neighborhood. He's never had any ill will towards me. I don't have any ill will towards him. He's been sentenced. He's going to serve out his prison sentence, and he got to handle his own thing with God. And it's not for me to be in a position to go ahead and tear somebody down. So I just wish him the best, and I wish him his life, and I wish him safety.
But
and Tory Lanez, once again, bro. Tory, I've known Tory. Tory's been in the.
Yeah, fuck that, mate. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, cool, but why do we have to push that as the narrative? How about don't shoot women? How about protect black women, as they say? Then the thing they love us, that a lot of people hate being said. Yeah, that was a fake video of an old clip, though. That's nothing to do with this. They're just trying to piece things together, ain't it? Let's go to one of the pagan newses. Yeah, let's go to a pagan news, because Otherwise, it's just random people.
Outside of the Kern Medical Center here in Bakersfield, where it's believed that rapper Tory Lanez is being treated after being attacked by another inmate this morning at a nearby state prison. And breaking news here into our newsroom, Tory Lanez had actually just posted on his social media stating that he was stabbed 14 times, including multiple wounds to his back, torso, and to his face and head. He also mentioned both of his lungs collapsed and was placed on a breathing tube. But he has been since breathing on his own. He has been in good spirits despite being in pain, and thanks everyone for their support. So how do we get to this today? So meanwhile, we've learned from officials that the attack happened around 7 a.m. this morning. The California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi, according to California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. That prison about an hour away from Bakersfield. Lanez, also known as Daystar Peterson, was provided medical aid after staff called 911. CDCR says that he was taken to an outside medical facility for further treatment. We are still waiting to confirm if he was in fact taken to Kern Medical here in Bakersfield. However, our crews earlier did see a medevac helicopter leaving the hospital's landing pad around 11 this morning. FlightRadar24.com shows flight data of the helicopter leaving that Tehachapi State Prison and arriving here to the hospital around that time of the reported incident. Lanez rose to fame in the 2010s with hits like The Color Violet and Say It, with his last two albums reaching the top 10 on the Billboard charts. He's currently serving a 10-year sentence at the facility for the 2020 shooting of rapper Megan Thee Stallion. According to CDCR, a jury found Lanez guilty of firearm-related charges when he shot Megan in the foot while she reportedly left a party at Kylie Jenner's Hollywood Hills home. That led to his conviction in August of 2023. Megan Thee Stallion was also granted a protective order earlier this year against Lanez until 2030, after officials say the rapper was harassing Megan from prison through his surrogates. And at this time, there is no word on Tory Lanez's attacker, but as soon as we do, we will be sure to update you on air and on website. Reporting from Bakersfield, Slom Ladvenka, Fox.
End of the day, yeah. Obviously, I don't really wish no harm on nobody and whatever. Sometimes people are really shit human beings. Like, he kind of is, yeah, I'll say karma. But I don't sit here celebrating that kind of thing or wishing for it. But the biggest problem to me with this is, like, yeah, he's been playing victim for how long? So, like, this just feeds into his thing, innit? That's why I say they'll probably exaggerate shit, and because he wants to be able to just paint a narrative all over the media. He's never getting an appeal. Like I said, never getting an appeal. So he wants to paint a narrative that he's a victim and he's going through such a hard time, and he wants to push conspiracy theories that Rock Nation is trying to shut him down. So this, I've seen it today. People like, oh, Rock Nation have tried to kill him, like having a laugh because he was selling NFTs. Listen, NFTs are dead. NFTs are finished. Nobody cares about NFTs anymore. They didn't, very quickly from when he was, that it didn't become the thing we thought it would. Yeah, maybe it will in the future. Right now they're dead. There's no power in NFTs. And like, there's so many independent artists who like don't, have shown artists how they can push without major labels, like, and they're cool. Drake's literally taking like the biggest label in the world to court right now, suing them. Like, they're not stitching him up for shooting a woman. Someone made a comment today, it was a good comment, like, yeah, like, it's rare that someone's stitched up for shooting someone. Like, some other cases that are a bit more questionable, like, what, someone was shot. So this, like, you can't, it's a lot to fabricate. Like, grow up, honestly. But one other thing I will quickly show, if I can get it up here actually, because I've only got YouTube open on here. If I can just show my picture that I shared today, because I did make a bit of noise with all of this today. Oh, no, not on there. I guess I'll go Instagram. I'm not logged into the right account. I'm glad you lot are not seeing my shit. No, let me go to my Facebook. Not logged into the right account on there either. I'm on an iPad here with my stuff, and it's like it's an iPad I use for work, so I'm logged into different company stuff that I do. Yeah, let me put that on the screen. I'm saying I'll make that the yeah, it's not good. I'm saying, yo, Tory Lanez stabbed 14 times. Are you sure he didn't just step on some glass? And there was a video, I'm going to get this up actually. There was a video that inspired this. I don't know if she actually said that part, but she said a lot of similar stuff. And for those who don't get sarcasm, you might struggle with this, but I posted it on my Insta today. Let's go, yeah.
Prison? Are we sure the doctor's reports aren't fake? No, you can fabricate reports. You can fabricate reports from a hospital. Like that's what they do now. Even
Meg
sure
the Stallion
that
fabricated all of them.
a knife was there, a shank. A shank. Shanks aren't the problem. People are the problem. I just feel like he could be lying. I don't know. I really feel like he could be not telling the truth. You know how black men love to bring another black man down. You know what I'm saying? We just crabs in a bucket. Crabs in a bucket. I personally think we should ask the shank if the shank is okay, because I couldn't imagine being in somebody like that. Energy. Terrible energy. Terrible energy. The shank friends with some sage? Can we sage the shank? Okay, what if he didn't get stabbed? What if he just fell on broken glass? Ooh, happy day. Woo! Ooh!
He fell on
get
broken
that energy
glass.
out of that. Ooh, Jesus walks. And I'm sure the person who stabbed him probably is sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like, he probably didn't even mean it for real. Wait a minute. The most important question is, was Tory fucking him?
Oh, that was brilliant. Shout out Big Ben, he sent me that earlier. Was Tory fucking him? Because that changes everything. If he was fucking him, then yo. Yeah, every single thing. And I posted that earlier and someone was like, and I wrote, I want to see the hospital records. Yeah. And someone wrote, his management confirmed it. And I was like, yo, bro, but this went over your head. Yeah. We won't explain anything any further for those whose head it's really gone over still. All right then. Let's do something different, man. Yeah, let's switch that up. We've gone into a lot of these cases. Let's go to Ren. Yeah. I don't even know where I'm going with this. I don't know where I'm going with this today. Let's go to, like, Hi Ren is the big video, yeah? I have watched it once before. What is it, 9.5 minutes long? You're having a fucking laugh. A music video. I've definitely not watched it all. I must have skipped through it. I've made a lot of comments about Ren, where I've said, I think Ren is a talented artist, but I think he makes type of rap music that's for people who don't like rap. And that includes a lot of racist people, and it includes... it leads to narratives of the great white hope and white superiority. If you look at any Eminem like Stan forum or social media space or group, it's crazy like how important it is to them that a white person is superior in their eyes in a black music space. And that's what this guy's creating. I'm not saying this is his intention, but then I did look into him. I did see he done a song with, I'm going to forget the guy's name, the guy who does that was it called Straight Facts? Or something like that. Series. The guy, he's like Top McDonald, but I think he's even worse. He's done a song with one of them right-wing American rappers anyway. He says a lot of stuff like, I found posts where he's saying anti-woke stuff. I've gone at it with the guys in the comments. So you guys have seen that. I've made my arguments. They're very valid. And a lot of you claiming, I hate anti-woke stuff, but I like Ren. That's not true. He's not like that. And then I'll show you the quote where he literally said something like that. And it's like you can't take it. So I don't believe in some of you. You guys probably, like, I hate the way the word woke is mocked. Woke is a good thing. It's a black cultural term to mean to be awake to white supremacy. So I hate the way that's used negatively and it's been appropriated by racist white people, yeah? But the way they're trying to use it is that when someone is woke, when they're trying to be for a certain message, but they're actually fake, you lot who love Ren, maybe actually that is the correct mocking of the word woke, because you lot act like you're for something, but really you're not. You know what I'm saying? You're just for it when it's this white guy talking about mental health. Anyway, I've gone off already. Let's relax. Because actually I want to give him a chance. People are telling me to give him a chance. He's good. And I'm going to try my hardest to include the positive things as I'm watching his stuff. I'm just going to probably do this one song here today, and maybe we'll do another on different shows, etc. Oh, he's got a guitar. So much more depth and all that rap. That's what I'm saying. The people, this is the funny thing. I don't even like rap, but he's great. They think they're doing something. They're saying that. You don't realize you're actually being you're being racist. You're saying this black music over here is not that impressive or valuable, but the way he does it is so much better. He looks like he's from E17. Big up Brian Harvey and all that though, but he looks like his haircut and the earring, I'm not saying exactly, but he just looks like he's from a 90s boy band.
Hi there, Ran. It's been a little while. Did you miss me? You thought you buried me, didn't you? Risky. Cause I always come back. Deep down you know that. Deep down you know I'm always in periphery. Ran, are you pleased to see me? It's been weeks since we spoke, bro. I know you need me. You're the sheep, I'm the shepherd. Not your place to lead me. Not your place to be biting off the hand that feeds me. Hi, Ran. I've been taking some time to be distant. I've been taking some time to be still. I've been taking some time to be by myself since my therapist told me I'm ill. And I've been making some progress lately, and I've learned some new coping skills. So I haven't really needed you much, man. I think we need to just step back and chill. Ren, you sound more insane than I do. You think?
You know what it is? You know, like, if I'm watching a film, if I'm watching a good acting performance, yeah, which is interesting, it's making me think of an acting performance. You know when they say overacting? When an acting performance is shit because it's overacted and there's too much excitement in the actor's face. They're giving too much. They don't feel natural. They don't feel like they're in the scenario. That's what his whole delivery sounds like. Very forced. I mean, cool. He's got a concept there, going through his mental health and different voices talking to each other. I get why for some people who've never seen nothing like that, that's exciting. But people who've listened to hip hop their whole life have seen like concepts like this done better a million times. I wish I could love it. I wish I could love it. I'm not going to pretend to love it. It's just not great. It's just really not great.
Those doctors are really there to guide you. Been through this a million times. Your civilian mind is so perfect to always being lied to. Okay, take another pill, boy. Drown yourself in the sound of white noise. Follow this 10-step program, rejoice. All your problems will be gone. Fucking dumb boy. Nah, mate. This time is different, man. Trust me. I feel like things might be falling in place. And my music's been kinda doing bits too. Like I actually might do something great. And when I'm gone, maybe I'll be remembered for doing something special with myself. That's why I don't think that we should talk, man. Cause when you're with me, it never seems to help. You think that you can amputate me?
So I'll say something positive. I don't, like, this is why I don't want to hate on nobody, yeah? I love hip-hop culture, so I'll speak on this shit. But I love a success story. And I love when someone loves something and they make it happen for themselves. So that bit there, I didn't think the lyrics were amazing or nothing, but So what? He's telling the story that, oh, my music's doing bits though, and I might do something great with my life. And, you know, I can see he means that. So, you know, big up to him for doing that and caring about that and getting there, you know. I do salute it.
I am you, you are me, you are I am we are one, split in two, that makes one, so you see, you gotta kill you if you wanna kill me. I'm not leftover dinner, I'm not scraps on the side. Oh, your music is thriving, delusional guy. Where's your top 10 hit? Where's your interview with Oprah? Wow, your Grammys ran nowhere.
Yeah, but my music's not commercial like that. I never chase numbers, statistics or stats. I never write hooks for the radio, they never even play me, so why?
See, that I'm not hearing. And that he says that for people, like for these people who are like kind of groomed for cultism, that they just need that narrative to believe, oh, the independent artist, I don't make music for the radio. Bro, like, this literally is pop music. Like, this is not impressive, like, oh, anti-establishment. This is pop. This is the guy with a guitar doing something very, like, cliche, very... Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's not artistic. It is. I'm saying I like pop music. I'm saying I like loads of pop artists. But this isn't... It's not that anti-mainstream thing that is trying to put itself as. Same as Eminem. Eminem was never that. Eminem is a very packaged pop rapper. He's like a horrorcore rapper in a pop package. So, yeah, it's not what either of those things are. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I just find it funny when they kind of sell it that way. But I guess they need to for it to sell.
I concern myself with that, but my music is really connecting, and the people who find it respect it. And for me that's enough, cause this life's been tough, so it gives me a purpose I can rest in. Man, you sound so pretentious, Ran, your music is so self-centered. No one wants to hear another song about how much you hate yourself, trust me. You should be so lucky, having me inside you to guide you, remind you to manage expectations, provide you perspective. That thing you neglected, I get it. You wanna be a big deal, next Jimi Hendrix, forget it. Man, it's not like that. Man, it's just like that. I'm inside you, you twat. No, it's not, man, you're wrong. When I write, I belong. Let me break the fourth wall by acknowledging this song. Ren sits down, has a stroke of genius. He wants to write a song that was not done previous. A battle with the subconscious, Eminem did it. Played on guitar. Plan B did it. Man, you're not original, you criminal rip-off artist. The pinnacle of your success is
I'm laughing to big him up for that, because I said half of that a minute ago. Half of that was my criticisms, and he already had the criticisms in his song about it not being original. And yeah, you know, that's got to be clever. That's got to be clever for him to have got me there. Yeah, alright, big him up.
Other people's material. Ran, mate, we've heard it all before. She sells seashells on the seashore. Fuck you, I don't need you, I don't need to hear this. Cause I'm fine by myself, I'm a genius. And I will be great, and I will make waves, and I'll shake up the whole world beneath it. That's right, speak your truth, your fucking God complex leaks out of you. It's refreshing to ask for you, say it instead of downplay it.
Music is all about the creative process, and if people can find something to relate to within that, then that's just a bonus. Fuck you, I'ma fucking kill you, Ren. I'ma fucking kill.
That's something I like as well, yeah. Like the ego stuff, where his, you know, the negative side of him is mocking him for having a big ego and all of that. You know what I'm saying? So, but essentially what he's doing is acknowledging his own ego, acknowledging his certain obsessions with things and all of that, which I respect. 100% I respect that.
Tell me then, let's fucking have you, Ren. I'ma do it, watch me prove it. Who are you to doubt my music? Cause I call the shots, I choose if you die. Yeah, I call the shots and so I choose who survives.
And I think I missed something there, and then he said something about the music. I missed it. I forgot now, but yeah, forget.
Tie you up in knots when I lock you inside. Newsflash. I was created at the dawn of creation. I am temptation. I am the snake in Eden. I am the reason for treason, beheading all kings. I am sin, with no rhyme or reason. Son of the morning, Lucifer, Antichrist, father of lies. Mustopheles, truth in a blender, deceitful pretender, the banished avenger, the righteous surrender. When standing in front of my solar eclipse, my name is stitched to your lips. So you see, I won't bow to the will of a mortal, feeble and normal. You wanna kill me? I'm eternal immortal. I live in every decision that catalyzes chaos, that causes division. I live inside death, the beginning of end. I am you, you are me, I am you, friend.
Not enjoyable, I'll be honest. sonically it's not enjoyable. But if you enjoy it, enjoy it.
Hi, Ren. I've been taking some time to be distant. I've been taking some time to be still. I've been taking some time to be by myself, and I've spent half my life ill. But just as sure as the tide starts turning, just as sure as the night has dawned, just as sure as the rainfall soon runs dry when you stand in an eye of a storm. I was made to be tested and twisted. I was made to be broken and beat. I was made by his hand, it's all part of his plan that I stand on my own 2 feet. And you know me, my will is eternal. And you know me, you've met me before. Face to face with a beast, I will rise from the east and I'll settle on the ocean floor.
This section's the nicest bit. It's the nicest delivery, the way he stood up, his tone, like he brought it down. I get, don't get me wrong, this is an art. It's like a drama. It's like a dramatic performance in a sense. So I get why there's different characters and voices and tones. It's not necessarily supposed to be all musical, but just on a musical level, this is the first bit I've gone, cool. I like the tone, the delivery, and it makes the words kind of come together for me. Yeah.
And I go by many names also. Some people know me as Hope. Some people know me as the voice that you hear when you loosen the noose on the rope. And you know how I know that I'll prosper? 'Cause I stand here beside you today. I have stood in the flames that cremated my brain, and I didn't once flinch or shake. So coward the man I've become.
Oh, let me pull up before he starts singing. Like that whole and also, I just want to say, the delivery. It's like he had nice pauses there. Yeah, like at the end of each line, he'd pause, and that's so much nicer to listen to as a rapper than when he was doing the shouty stuff, or when he was even doing the fire in the booth, trying to prove you can fit so many words in. I don't want to hear that shit. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather hear you, like, just say your piece. You know what I'm saying? Like, say it not like in a way that I can listen and take you in emotionally. I'll pull up a little bit.
'Cause I stand here beside you today. I have stood in the flames that cremated my brain, and I didn't once flinch or shake. So coward the man I've become. When I sing from the top of my lungs, that I won't retire, I'll stand in your fire, inspire that me to be strong. And when I am gone, I will rise in the music that I left behind. Ferocious, persistent, immortal like you, we're a climate different side. When I was 17 years old, I shouted out into an empty room, into a blank canvas, that I would defeat the forces of evil. And for the next 10 years of my life, I suffered the consequences, with autoimmunity, illness, and psychosis. As I got older, I realized there were no real winners and there were no real losers in psychological warfare, but there were victims and there were students. It wasn't David versus Goliath. It was a pendulum, eternally swaying from the dark to the light. And the more intensely that the light shone, the darker the shadow it cast. It was never really a battle for me to win. It was an eternal dance. And like a dance, the more rigid I became, the harder it got. The more I cursed my clumsy footsteps, the more I struggled. So I got older, and I learned to relax, and I learned to soften, and that dance got easier. It is this eternal dance that separates human beings from angels, from demons, from gods. And I must not forget we must not forget that we are human beings.
I don't love it, but cool. I don't love it, but cool. It is what it is. Like I say, it's an art piece. It's a dramatic performance piece. It seems to me the poetry bit at the end. I can see why someone would be like, "Oh my God, this is so deep," but that's just not me. You know what I'm saying? And I know a lot about mental health problems, and I'm saying, like, I get it. You know, as a piece, it is showing insanity, right? It's showing all sorts of clashing, like, expression and feeling. But like I said, it just, a lot of it sounds forced. But it's, you know, I'm only saying this, I'm here being honest saying this because I did an honest reaction to his Fire in the Booth, and I had some important things I felt to say about his audience and a couple of problematic pointers. And they've said so much about it in the comments that they want me to react to his more stuff, like. So I hope I've acknowledged some good things about him here and that's important too. But I'm not gonna lie, like, for me, just as a hip hop fan, it's not exciting. But so what? It's exciting to you. You enjoy it, love it, share it, support it. I wish him all the best. He's doing great. There's space for everybody. There's space in hip hop culture for everybody. There's space in pop culture and music for everybody. Not everybody has to be the same or like the same things. So, do you know what I mean? We'll just keep it to that, man. And I'll do some more in it. Yeah, I thought I'd watched that before. I definitely had not watched all that before. I think I just watched a bit of it and got bored the first time. Alright, I'm gonna have a think about what am I doing next. I wrote some notes. Down somewhere in my phone. Keir Starmer. And then I've got to get back to the Amber Heard series I was doing. It was like a year ago. I did 4 episodes of the series. I had 2 left to do. They're an hour long though, so it's a bit. I've been here a long time, so it's a lot to do today. But I think I'm gonna soldier it and do it because I left it so long, and I know people wanted me to get back to that. You know, I want to give some context about why I dip in and out for my own mental health stuff, and you know, I got a couple of diagnoses recently from assessments I was waiting for. That's made me realise a lot about myself, where I have like moments where I go crazy on the internet, post loads of stuff, and then I'll burn out and not do any of it. Let's have a look at Keir Starmer's speech. Because Keir Starmer has gone mental. Yeah. I haven't watched the actual full speech. It's 24 minutes long? No, can I watch that whole thing? 24 minutes long, The Telegraph, in full. Starmer vows to reduce immigration significantly, but refuses to set cap. Now that's interesting, that refuses to set cap part, because I posted something about, I shared something Keir Starmer had said today on Facebook, and someone asked me, you know, just hypothetically, if you was Prime Minister, what would your immigration policy be? Yeah, because I'm not saying you're wrong about Keir Starmer, whatever. And I was just like, I don't need to answer that question because this has nothing to do with immigration policy. Starmer hasn't presented any policy from what I'd seen and what I was sharing, and now it looks like he hasn't even here. It is just about him pushing a narrative and a rhetoric that aligns with reform voters and racist English people. That's simple as that. He's just trying to pander to a racist audience and say stuff that makes them feel like he's on side. He's probably actually not going to do anything to stop any immigration, which, so what, good, don't. Do something to go and tax millionaires, yeah, who don't pay tax dodgers, yeah? How about cut your wages, cut MP wages? How about that? I'm not worried about immigration. It's not really a big issue. Maybe I'll just watch this ITV News 6.5 minutes rather than the 24.
Good morning. Today we publish a white paper on immigration, a strategy absolutely central to my plan for change that will finally take back control of our borders and close the book on a squalid chapter for our politics, our economy and our country.
Keir Starmer has just announced a potentially very significant pact.
It's just the way he's speaking, like you're literally just speaking like you know, from the beginning we said this is a Tory party. Yeah, we said Tory light. Oh, he's going to be like a Tory Labour Party, Tory light. Everyone was saying, I always say, no, not Tory light. At the moment, it's coming like the Tories are the left-wing party.
Of reforms to the legal migration system. Of course, it comes against the backdrop of, over the past few years, immigration to the UK soaring. A couple of years ago, we had those shocking numbers, 1 million people coming from the rest of the world to the UK, an all-time record. It also
Good for them.
Comes against the backdrop in which the unpopularity with millions of British people of the change in the British population, the large numbers of people coming here, has changed political allegiances. It's probably the biggest factor behind the surge in popularity of reform. Now,
why is the guy talking so slowly?
The most popular party in the UK. So for the Prime Minister, it's been an imperative to address this issue. Interestingly, when I said to him, particularly when it comes to really talented overseas people, attracting them to the UK would be thought by almost every economist as a good thing because you know, they help the sort of high value businesses, the fast growing businesses that we need to create prosperity, to create growth. It helps them to expand.
On the growth question, I do think
people
this
are
is
laughing
worth,
at him already.
Taking some time on, because the theory that higher migration numbers necessarily leads to higher growth has been tested in the last 4 years. So we've had the highest net migration when the last government lost control to nearly 1 million and stagnant growth. And so that link doesn't hold on that evidence. The second thing is that this white paper is not just a white paper on immigration, it's also a white paper that deals with skills and training. And one of the reasons that we've had stagnant growth, in my view, for years, is because we've underinvested chronically in skills and growth. So by putting skills and growth into the same plan as migration, which is something businesses have been asking for years, you actually answer the growth question as well.
So they're going to put skills and growth. I'm not saying this is a terrible idea or nothing, but so they're going to focus on migrants having skills to work and contribute and all of that stuff as well. And then you're going to get the same reform people sitting there and go, they're taking all our jobs that you don't want to do while you sit in your yard and do nothing.
And I should say as a footnote to that, as you heard in the speech and you'll see in the white paper, in relation to high talent, where we want the very best into the country, we will have routes to get that talent into this country. And I think there's real potential for us to do so in the current environment, and we intend to do so.
He said two things in response to that. Secondly, within these reforms, they are not, if they can possibly help it, going to penalise those with the highest skills, although to be clear, one aspect of all of this that I think will deter those with high skills from coming here is they will now, unless they can somehow prove they're making an amazing contribution to Britain, they'll have to live here for 10 years before they can even think about applying for citizenship. That's twice as long as you would have to live in America to apply for citizenship. And America, obviously, in many ways, a much more successful economy than ours. So some would say it's sort of, well, as I said to him, maybe he's shooting himself in the foot by, in a sense, doubling that residence requirement for the UK. But the most striking thing that he said in response to my question is he believes that what economists have traditionally believed, which is that there's a very clear link between immigration and growth, he believes that that link has been exposed as false, because over the last few years we have had very high immigration numbers in the UK, but stagnating growth. Around all of this, though, you know, the reforms such that, you know, now you will have to have a degree to come into the UK. Typically, people without a degree will find it much harder. There are going to be stricter language tests. Dependents of people wanting to come to the UK will have to prove that they can speak English. He made this statement that people had to prove.
People should have to have a degree to vote for reform. Not vote in general, you've got to be able to vote, but to vote for something as extreme as reform, you've got to have a degree to prove you've really thought this through.
That they wanted to integrate in British society, to come here. These feel like not just big economic changes, but big changes to almost a culture of the Labour Party. You know, broadly saying to the Labour Party that although sort of multiculturalism, many Labour Party supporters would say has been a good thing, more important, he would say, is a desire among those who wanted to come here to become, on his definition, you know, enthusiastic British people, enthusiasts for both our language and culture. So this will be controversial among his supporters. But the biggest test of all, politically, you know, whether people are in favour of immigration or not, there is no question that the immigration debate is driving British politics. He has determined that his success in government will, to a large extent, be determined by whether he gets immigration numbers down. To be frank, most of what he has announced would suggest to me that he will get immigration numbers down by tens of thousands. Whether it will lead to significant enough reductions to persuade British people that, in a sense, the government is now in control.
What we need to do is stop having this conversation. We need to actually teach the British public that this is not a real issue. Yeah? Because all we've done is lie to the British public that immigration is making their life difficult, when actually it's tax dodging millionaires who is making their life difficult. Actually, it's Keir Starmer, Nigel Farage who is making their life difficult. Yeah? They are the problem, not any immigrant, not one single one. Yeah? So once we actually educate the public that this is not a real issue, then we can actually focus on real issues when we're doing like elections and manifestos. Because at the moment, they know this is not a real issue and they're just using it to manipulate. Reform have used it to manipulate the public. So now Labour are feeling like they have to jump in and show, oh, we're dealing with that as well. But are you forgetting about all of the people on the left who want to see you actually work on policies over there? Because you're completely ignoring them right now when you're focusing solely on this non-issue. Yeah, you're an idiot. Let's just before we move on from this, I did see Jeremy Corbyn give a speech. I saw a clip. Let's see if I can just find that quickly, if there's a longer version. There's something about, sorry, I'll get this back on the screen. That looks interesting about Israel arms sales, but I want to find a specific, what's that mean tweets with Jeremy Corbyn when I was 5 years old? Gosh, that must be difficult. Let's just watch this anyway.
Britain keeps on saying that it has a security cooperation and arrangement with Israel. They refuse to answer questions from me and from others as to what the Royal Air Force Base at Akrotiri is being used for, why there are so many hundreds of flights taking off from it, what are they carrying, where are they going, why are they happening. They won't answer those questions. Keir Starmer went there and rather bizarrely said, there's lots going on here I'm not able to talk to you about. Well, if he's not able to talk to us about it, then I think it's time that he was in front of a court where he'd be forced to answer those questions.
Thanks. And he shouldn't be Prime Minister. If you can't answer questions like that, you should not be Prime Minister. That should be illegal.
I've just had enough of the behaviour of the British government in all of this. And every time that we've demanded a suspension or an end to the arms sales, David Lammy came back eventually and said they were suspending 30 licences without telling us what those licences were and maintaining 300 other licences. When we demanded an end to supply of parts for the F-35 jets, they announced that they couldn't stop that because it would halt the global supply chain of F-35 jets. Seems a strange argument, but there you are, that's what he said. And so the next question was, well, is the supply chain so inefficient you don't know where the parts are going? And there's no answer came to that. Then eventually they said, this they told me last week, they would no longer supply parts for F-35 jets directly to Israel, but they would supply them into the global supply chain, which is a piece of obfuscation that's worthy of any barrack room lawyer. Ridiculous nonsense. Actually, they're still supplying parts for F-35 jets. They are complicit in the bombardment of Gaza, in the killing of children and the killing of people all over Gaza.
You know, the Prime Minister we could have had. And let's see this thing about Lee Anderson here as well.
I'm happy to give way.
Which is most generous with her time, but she will be aware that today over 600 illegal migrants have entered this country. They could get up to all sorts of mischief, commit crimes and maybe even acts of terrorism. So does she agree with me that these young men crossing the Channel should be immediately detained and deported along with the member for Islington?
Minister. Well, I certainly hope that that kind of comment might be a joke, but I actually wonder whether that kind of arbitrary treatment of people who are in this country, if we came out of the ECHR as he wants, would become the norm for reform. We are a law-abiding government. The Right Honourable Member for Islington has a complete right to his opinions and a complete right to express them from whatever side of the House that he sits, and I've personally worked with him and have a great deal of respect for him. So I'm quite shocked that the Honourable Gentleman thinks that that's an appropriate thing to say.
I wish they could just say the dishonourable gentleman.
In this place.
Or dishonourable scumbag.
Now, at committee stage.
Yeah, madness. Yeah, idiot. Come Finsbury Park and say that, bro. Yeah? These clowns, man. I couldn't find... I guess I'll just... Let me have another search for... I'm trying to see if I'm trying to see if I've got I see the Corbyn speech that I saw the other day. It's got to be on here somewhere, but it's just not coming up when I'm searching.
A number of
Parliament Live. How long is this video? Gosh, maybe some long audio. Oh, it's on right now. Starmer accused of using Farage's playbook as immigration debate turns explosive. Hook Global. I guess I can't sit and watch someone else's live because I'll be here all night. But yeah, someone else getting into it. Yeah, they don't. It's like they don't want to put Corbyn's speech up here. Yeah, none of the news people are showing it. Obviously, it's on. There was a clip where it was on his social media, innit? But I guess I'll keep it moving, man. Fuck Keir Starmer. Simple as that. I mean, it's a scary time where we might end up with a reform government. And if we don't, we're going to have this Labour government continue that behaves like them. So what difference does it make? I did want to go a bit back to the Diddy bit because I realised I only covered yesterday. And today Cassie gave testimony. So let's have a look at something to do with today's testimony with Cassie. ABC News. Let's just go into this one then.
All right, let's take you to New York now, where a key witness just testified in the sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs. R&B singer and his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura took the stand today. Now, we have to warn you, the details in this case are very difficult to hear. Let's bring in CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman. She's been following this case for us outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Katrina, can you go over just what happened in court today?
So we are currently hearing from Sean Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. She walked into the courtroom today in a very tight brown dress that shows off her very late stage pregnancy. This is actually something that the defense was hoping not to have happen. They felt...
I wonder if, obviously the end of that was showed off her pregnancy, but the whole tight dress, that felt like it was trying to paint her, like anytime sexual abuse victims going to court, they talk about what they're wearing something too tight, all of that. The build up of how that was worded was weird.
That the jury seeing her pregnant might make her seem more sympathetic to them. It looks as though they lost that battle in front of the judge. But Cassie has... And then complain, and then highlighting the complaint. Yeah, that's why these pagan news people I shouldn't support, but at the same time, this is the kind of stuff I've got to respond to, innit? It's like I've got to see what they're saying and say it straight. Been testifying about her relationship with Sean Combs, how it developed from when she was very young. They met when she was 19, I believe it was. He first kissed her around her 21st birthday. And then we're starting to learn about how they got closer, how he started to exert what appears to be the government trying to show a pattern of control over her life. She was signed to a record deal with his company, but they only put out one of the 10 records that she was supposed to have. So he was in control of a lot of her finances. He got her apartments. She has started to testify about the abusiveness in their relationship and the sexual proclivities that he introduced her to, like voyeurism and something that he called freak-offs, where she would get male escorts or he would get male escorts, and they would engage in sex acts for anything from hours to days. And she also talks about how their relationship became violent, and she didn't know which side of calm she would get in the morning. At one point saying that she didn't know if she made the wrong face, if he would hit her in the face. You can also see the government starting to try to lay out this racketeering scheme that they're accusing him of, where they say that he was running his company as a criminal enterprise. She says that his security guards and trusted assistants took part in keeping an eye on her, tracking her down if Combs couldn't reach her. We're on pause for lunch now, but she's taking the stand again any moment to continue their story, and we expect it to go on for the next few days.
And Katrina, before you go, I just want to make sure we cover what are Diddy's defense lawyers saying about all of this? They're not denying that he had some unusual proclivities, right?
You are absolutely right. In opening statements yesterday, they made it clear that they are owning up to a lot of Sean Combs' faults. They say that he's guilty of domestic violence, that he has committed assaults, that he has a really bad temper, but they're saying these are not the things that he's charged with. You know, at the same time, they do want to really make him seem more empathetic to the jury. You know, it was even just interesting watching Sean Combs in court today. I was looking at him during moments that might, strike a chord with the jury, and sometimes I could see him, looking at Cassie and then scanning them to get their reactions. But really, their defense is, one, that he has a lot of these issues, but they just do not align with the charges here.
Katrina Kaufman live outside that courthouse for us. Katrina, thank you so much.
Yeah, I guess we'll continue to
Welcome back
look
to
into
Smith
this.
Show.
So something else started playing, but it didn't it felt like kind of repeating the stuff that happened on the first day. I guess there was just talking about more of the same stuff with Cassie on the stand. I did see stuff talking about her crying. That didn't seem to go into any details of that. I guess like I'd have to go into much more of the longer videos. There's one here 4 hours ago. P. Diddy's ex Cassie reveals shocking details and explosive testimony. Be here all night if I do 27 minutes of this.
As I speak right now, Cassandra Ventura has taken the stand. Now, unfortunately, in this case, in a federal case, there are no cameras in the courtroom. There is no audio in the courtroom.
Not unfortunately, fortunately. Yeah, so that we don't sit here and shame these women all over the internet, you scumbag.
We're going to do our best to report to you in real time what is happening with her testimony and analyzing her testimony in real time. And we're going to also be taking your questions about this testimony, about the case in general, as it progresses. So if you have a question, submit it on YouTube. We will answer it here on air. I'm not going to do it alone. I have with me here in studio Rich Schoenstein, trial attorney. Great to see you, Rich. Thanks for jumping here so quickly. Really appreciate it.
Glad to be here. Big day in this trial.
This is a big day because she is victim number one in this case. I think it would be fair to say we probably wouldn't have criminal charges if it wasn't for Cassandra Ventura filing her lawsuit in November of 2023. We all know that the videotape of her purportedly being beaten by Sean Combs in 2016 changed the course of this entire legal saga. It came up a lot yesterday. She came up a lot yesterday. And now her testifying for the prosecution, I think a fair argument is this case either rises or falls with her testimony. So what has she testified to so far? Well, first of all, she's quite pregnant. She's about 8.5 months, 9 months pregnant. She's 38 years old. She explained that she was with Sean Combs for 10 years. We're talking about a 17-year age difference. She admitted that during the course of their relationship, he introduced her to certain sex acts. She asked to describe the relationship she had with him. Quote, there were violent arguments.
17-year age difference starting at 19. My daughter is 19. A man 17 years older than my daughter tries to talk to my daughter. I'm not going to say nothing. I've raised my daughter, not to put something on her, you know what I'm saying, but I've raised my daughter to say, like, to know, innit, just to teach her from young that a man like that is not going to have your best interests. Boy.
That would usually result in some sort of physical abuse, dragging, different things of that nature. Again, why is this important? He's charged with sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. He's charged with racketeering conspiracy, a criminal enterprise, underlying crimes like sex trafficking, kidnapping, arson, bribery, obstruction, and also transporting sex workers for purposes of prostitution. She went on to say that he would stomp her in the head if she was down. There was frequent violence. She would have black eyes. She would have bruises. She was asked by the prosecution to describe what a freak-off was. And she said, quote, it basically entails the hiring of an escort and setting up this experience so that I could perform for Sean. It involved Combs being able to watch with me, the other person, and actually direct us on what we were doing. Eventually, it became a job for me, pretty much. And by the way, this comes after the testimony of a male performer who says he was hired by Cassandra Ventura and Sean Combs to have sex.
I call him performer. That's mad, you know. Obviously, it's like the cock thing, yeah? But the way they're presenting this is like he wanted to like create his own porn like in the room, like rather than watching the video. That's mad. And her saying it became like a job.
With Cassie in front of Sean Combs. She described how their relationship was quite complex. Talking about these freak-offs when she was first introduced to them, she says, I was confused, nervous, but also loved him very much. She explained how Sean Combs ultimately controlled a lot of her life. She talked about blackmail materials, so videos that Combs purportedly shot of her during these sexual encounters. She was concerned that they would be published, they would be released. Quote, he had many resources to do that. She was shown the 2016 video of that hallway attack, as I mentioned. She confirmed it was after a freak-off, which is important, because while the defense would say this is an unfortunate incident of domestic violence and domestic violence is not sex trafficking, she has confirmed that this was after a freak-off. This was in furtherance of sex trafficking.
That's crazy. Not just in furtherance of sex trafficking, but in furtherance of her being involved in one of these situations, which she's saying there's force involved, and people are arguing that she willingly participated in. If there's an act of violence directly after, maybe as a result of something that's gone on there, then the next time this happens, that threat of violence is always there.
She says she was afraid that if she said no to him, it would make him angry. So again, we're going to get more of her testimony in real time. So far, Rich, from what I've said, what are you taking away from her testimony?
Well, obviously, this is a horrendous relationship, and she suffered a lot. I think the defense is arguing, in essence, that she was a consensual, willing participant in this relationship. It was a 10-year relationship. It had ups and downs, and the defense is arguing that some of the things she argues now she was forced to do, she did willingly and perhaps even enjoyed at the time. So that's what we're getting at. But this is really shocking stuff for a jury to have to hear all of this, and I think see some of it is coming up.
Don't you think that there is a potential problem for the prosecution? Because we heard it, it was funny, we have a question from TDB. Jesse, does the male dancer's testimony about Cassie contradict the prosecution's opening statement? Now, he had testified that he thought he heard Sean Combs slapping her, that there were instances where he saw him dragging her, but at the same time,
yo, just to say, this guy's haircut is wild, yo. I know my hair's growing, and I'm wearing like a headband to hold it together. So my hair's crazy at the moment as well, but this guy's hair is wild.
he was getting paid by her. He was texting her. She was participating in these freak-offs. You wonder, this case is a thin line. Was it coercion or not? Was she a victim or partner in this? Do you think when you hear the testimony of that male dancer and you hear her testimony now, it'll be difficult for the jury to believe that everything was coerced and against her will?
I don't think the jury is going to believe that everything was coerced and against her will at the time, but it doesn't have to. There's a massive power imbalance here. So even if she willingly participated for parts of this relationship, he has all of the power and he's using it. And the one thing you mentioned, I wrote down, blackmail video. That stuff's really important to the case, right? This is carrot and stick territory, but he kept, allegedly, things like these videos to keep people in line. And the allegation here is if she sort of got a little bit antsy about how the relationship was going, he would threaten to release videos that would destroy any chance of her having a career.
And of course, I 100% believe that. You know what I'm saying? Like, 100% believe that. And that is, you know, revenge porn. It's a sex crime in itself. And maybe back then it wasn't. I don't know what the law was, but morally, yeah. Because I watched this. I watched this documentary podcast with Talisa N-Dubs. Yeah, big up N-Dubs. Recently. I don't even want to talk about her thing on that case, but she spoke about it in that incident. But she spoke about having a sex tape leaked, and she pointed out that, like, had that happened today, that would have been a crime. But when it happened, it didn't. It was like it kind of ruined her career in a lot of ways. Yeah, I never respected it at the time. I didn't know that guy. Yeah, the mad thing, I won't say his name. Like, I've always, whenever I see that guy pop up, and the mad thing is I saw him pop up performing at somewhere with one of my friends the other day. My brethren was like literally posting the thing, oh yeah, me and my man, like, and I thought, oh, that dickhead. Yeah, I've never rated, like, you don't have like sexual relations with women and then shame them for it. Like, that's never been a flex. Do you know what I'm saying? But it is a crime now. Yeah.
Defense would say the only.
But like back then, I'm saying, like, yeah, I don't know if it was. So that kind of threatening, that kind of thing might have been more common.
got a little bit antsy about how the relationship was going, he would threaten to release videos that would destroy any chance of her having a career.
The defense would say the only person that was in possession of the videos was Cassandra Ventura. That's a point that they made yesterday.
Yeah, that's an evidentiary point. I don't know the answer to that.
Let me ask you this. We have a question from Lauren, who, by the way, has this cute little like emoji, like smiley face with the hearts. I like it. It's nice. I have a question. Do you think now that the prosecution has played their ace with Cassie, that they have more damning evidence to come?
I would expect so, because when you're prosecuting a case like this, you want to start strong. And I think some of the idea of putting her on in day 2 of this trial is to start strong. They put on a little corroborating testimony first, right, from this dancer, escort, whatever you want to call him, and now they have her, the security guard, and they get to show the video, that horrible video, and now she testifies. But it can't be the prosecution's plan to try this case that now they're just going to wind their way through some other inconsequential witnesses. I mean, they have 2 more victims, as I understand it.
Well, let's talk about this. The practical reality is, A, they need to get her on the stand before she gives birth, okay?
Well, that's true, too. That's true. Good point.
Yeah, because victim 3 is nowhere to be found, so they may have to make sure that victim 1 is still available. But also, I agree that they...
Victim 3 is nowhere to be found. That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on over this trial. What do you mean there's a victim that's nowhere to be found? Does that mean he's got to someone already and threatened them or leaned on them to back out?
Started very strong with corroborating evidence before they brought her on, because what happened? When she filed her lawsuit in November of 2023, made these wild allegations, I think people said, how do we know this is true or not? As soon as that video was released by CNN, the whole game changed, because people not only believed that particular incident in the complaint, they believed overall all the allegations that she made, and it seems the prosecution is doing just that. Now, it's interesting thinking about this. By the way, I'm going to give more updates about her testimony. So right now, Ventura said, I thought we were monogamous. The prosecutor asked, was it made public? No, I was his artist, also his family, his children, meaning their relationship wasn't public yet. Who was linked to him publicly? Kim Porter. Miss Ventura responds, how did Sean treat you at this time? We had fun. So a lot of this...
Kim Porter, who mysteriously died, and a lot of people believe Diddy was responsible for killing. Let's never forget that. Let's never, ever, ever forget that.
Is talking about the beginnings of their relationship, and she has to concede some points, right? She can't just say, it was a disaster at the very beginning. I hated him from the very beginning. I was under a distress from the very beginning. There has to be an aspect to it where she explains, no, I started this relationship. I was young, I was excited, but then it devolved, right? In order to be credible on the stand about the story, I think.
I agree with that, and also to acknowledge that there were benefits to her of being in this relationship. It would, at least in theory, help her career. It would get her to meet people that she otherwise wouldn't have been able to meet. So all of that is true. There's nothing wrong with her conceding that, because none of that justifies being dragged down a hallway and beaten.
Exactly. And by the way,
these guys, let me just say, these guys' coverage, when we watched that CBS and Fox News rubbish a minute earlier, that was like very, I don't know, I didn't like the direction a lot of that shit was reported, but these guys seem to be a lot more balanced, and they just given, even though these are the people that reported the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial that I hated how it was presented. But they did, I guess they showed the trial, innit? People got to watch it, and then it was the rest of the media who turned it into a circus.
By the way, we jumped on here on air immediately as soon as we found out that Cassandra Ventura was officially taking the stand. And one thing that makes Law and Crime a little bit different than other outlets like that is our viewers. Not only do we value our viewers, but we are making content right now purely for our viewers on YouTube. We want to give you the most up-to-date information about this case in real time. And again, we are the only channel, the only news organization that is producing content for you specifically. We value that. YouTube is where the most hard cutting-edge news is coming from, and we want to get it out to you as quickly as possible. So thank you so much to our supporters. We are going to continue to take your...
I guess maybe I wasn't going to do this whole video. I'm 10 minutes in now, so further the way through. But yeah, maybe I guess I'll continue to react to these guys' videos. I don't know if I can do it every day. We'll see.
Questions for for a while now, because she's going to be on the stand. So let's keep it going. Again, thank you to our YouTube audience. Jane, are there any more witnesses to Cassie getting attacked by Diddy apart from the bodyguard? I mean, I don't know. I would imagine so.
Yeah, I don't know either. There's a videotape, so that's kind of a witness. But yes, I would imagine there are other witnesses who are going to talk about the relationship and probably talk about some of the physical stuff.
Well, they mentioned chiefs of staff. They mentioned a chef. They mentioned, one of the questions from the defense yesterday was, how is this a conspiracy, right? For a conspiracy, you need 2 or more people to agree. Yeah. Who are the people that coordinated and facilitated this racketeering and sex trafficking operation are not criminally charged?
So I see 2 major hurdles for the prosecution in this case. One is what we've been talking about. They have to get past the idea that this is consensual behavior by other people who are behaving in a questionable fashion. They have to get past that. The second bigger hurdle to me is turning an abuse case into a racketeering case, right? Because yes, they have to prove RICO is very challenging. You have to prove a RICO enterprise. You have to prove a pattern of racketeering activity. You have to prove multiple predicate acts that are violations of separate federal laws. It is hard to sustain a RICO case. We've seen some other cases where people have tried. That's going to be a major hurdle here. The fact that he had this 10-year relationship, and even...
We don't know it's all going to be around these relationships. We don't know what else they're going to put forward. I don't know, innit? He's been accused of killing his wife, ex-wife Kim Porter. He's been accused of having Tupac killed. He's been accused of loads of stuff. So, don't know, innit? I mean, it seems like the case is going to just be around these things. And they may be able to put that together. Like they're saying, like, his security being involved in covering stuff up, etc. His whole team being involved in facilitating and covering up all these crimes is still an organized crime network and can be argued, isn't it?
If it's arguably true, he took advantage of her, he treated her horribly, he beat her, he did all these terrible things to her. That's not racketeering.
I say that the prosecution spent so much time yesterday in their opening statement trying to explain to this jury why it's a crime. Because it's not a garden variety trafficking or racketeering case. And I think the more they have to explain it, that's a problem from them. I think it's a weakness in their case, personally. Now we have an update from court. Prosecutor asked Cassandra Ventura, what was his lifestyle like? Ventura responds, he had all these assistants. He could get things done. He traveled quite a bit. And then apparently she's shown a photo, and she says, this is Sean and I at a strip club in New York, like 2007, 2008, Halloween. How did Sean Combs' moods vary? Day to day. Now look, he is charged with specific crimes that John Smith on the street can't meet. There is an argument here, very powerful, had all these businesses, different resources, different employees. He would be in the position to be able to carry out a sex trafficking or racketeering operation. That's what makes him unique, though.
Sure, but is that what he's doing? Is he running an entertainment and fashion industry, or is he running essentially a criminal organization?
By the way, we have a poll up right now. You can participate in it. Do you think
both.
Cassie Ventura was a victim or partner in this? Ready for this? 82%. Well, this doesn't make sense. 82% say yes. I don't know if that's yes to, I think we need clarification. 82% say victim or partner. We'll get a clarification on that.
By the way,
right now.
But that's my answer to that question.
I don't like that question. I'm not saying these lot are better. I don't like the question. Like, why are we, let's stop that. Let's stop leaning into these narratives that even question a victim and survivor as participants, etc.
Oh, okay. 82% say victim. 82% say victim. Maybe based on we're reporting on the testimony right now.
Yeah. But that depends where you ask. You know what I'm saying? Go and ask I'm Just Bait. Just ask that poll and I'm Just Bait and see if they say the same thing.
I mean, I think she is a victim if the allegations are true, but also she is involved in some of the criminal act. I mean, she's getting those prostitutes, right? She's making payments to them, allegedly. She's having them come. So she's involved in some of the alleged criminal activity. And that's an interesting point that wouldn't just apply to her. Other people in his orbit might be some combination of victim and co-conspirator.
But you know what? That video changes everything, because the argument would be, what do you think happens if she says no?
Yeah.
What do you think happens if she says, I'm not in the mood for a freak off tonight. I'm not going to pay the dancer. That's what's going to happen. That video is arguably the most important piece of evidence because it sets the stage when we're talking about coercion or fraud or force. Question from Angelina. How old was Cassie when they first started dating? I think she was 19 years old, so you're talking about a 17-year age difference. That's important. I think that's an important factor if you're talking about power and control, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that he's older and obviously has much more power anyway.
Sherry Williams asks, what kind of time is Diddy facing if he's found guilty? Do you want me to? I have it listed unless you want me to answer that one.
I would say life in prison, but you can tell me specifically.
So this is exactly what he would be facing. So if he's convicted of one count of racketeering conspiracy, I pulled this up because I figured people might be curious. If he is convicted of racketeering conspiracy, the top charge, that is a maximum sentence of life in prison. You know what the minimum is for that? Well, okay, so that's life in prison. Maximum sentence for sex trafficking, life in prison. You know what the minimum is for sex trafficking? 15 years in prison. And then the transportation for purposes of prostitution carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. Rich, I have to tell you, I don't know about racketeering. I don't know about sex trafficking if he's going to be convicted of those. I am fairly confident he's going to be convicted of allegedly transporting sex workers with the intent that they engage in prostitution. Their argument, as far as I understood yesterday, their defense yesterday was he hired people for their time and experience.
Let me tell you something. If he gets out of this trial only convicted of transporting for prostitution, that is a defense victory. That they would take that in a heartbeat, I bet.
Because I think if he is convicted of that, he might not get 10 years. He might get, a shorter amount and time served, his time already in the MDC. I don't know, but it wouldn't be life in prison. Wouldn't be 15 years.
Yeah, he might not get full 10 years. He might not get the hardest prison term, the hardest prison life, right?
I do have to say, this trial's happened quickly. I don't know how often they happen this quickly, or I don't always pay as much attention. Like this one I've followed, feel like since everything's been reported. Like, obviously it's in a different country, but the Tate brothers trial for sex trafficking, that's not moving anywhere. Yeah, I'm sure it will. It's not as much as they love to report it, it's not been forgotten. But this started way later and it's happening already.
Would get out, he would still have a life, he would still have his enterprise. So I think that would actually be a defense victory, all things considered.
So we have an update from court. I think she's describing what the alleged abuse was like. She talks about anger, zoning out. She was asked, how did this impact you? She says, greatly. The next thing I knew, I was getting hit in the face. She also apparently talks about psychological abuse. He'd tell me to watch my mouth, change my face. So, I do wonder... That has a strong impact because there's another case that we're covering right now. It's the Alexander brothers. And they're being charged with sex trafficking. And the argument you hear from defense attorneys is this is a very novel way to charge individuals. That if you're talking about romantic relationships or girlfriends or flings, and you're taking them on trips, you're paying for their meals, you're buying them gifts, maybe you're promising things, romantic gestures, are we now in a position where romantic relationships are just on the line of sex trafficking, or where does it differ?
Well, here he is allegedly bringing in prostitutes to participate in these freak-offs and paying them for sexual services. So that to me would clearly be sex trafficking if it's true. It's not just about the girlfriend. It's not just about the relationship. It's about these sex workers that he is moving about.
We have a question from To Trune. What about male victims? Seems like this case is solely based on women victims.
is an interesting thing, right? Something I was going to say earlier. Who knows what they're going to say here? But I was saying, like, yeah, Cassie gets a lot of bad comments in the comment section. But I was comparing to the Johnny Depp case earlier. I was thinking that the reason he can't pull off, I mean, obviously Johnny Depp's a white man in America using his privilege, but there's also like the fact of his base, like as far as Diddy's base of support not being there for him the same way Johnny Depp's base of support is there, is because of the gay stuff. Any of these, like all of these like gay stories that have come out, you know, in hip hop culture or whatever, it's quite homophobic. They're not hearing that, and there's a lot more concern about him doing gay stuff than there is about a video of him beating up Cassie that we've all seen, which is quite a sad thing.
This case appears to be based on women victims. I mean, I've heard speculation too about male victims. I don't know where that stands.
Well, there's lawsuits. There's a lot of lawsuits that have been filed by male victims, and I wonder, do you think that was intentional for the prosecution to not include those in this case? I mean, why weren't minor victims? Let me say this. He has been accused in lawsuits of abusing minors, okay? Allegations, accusations, okay, never been criminally charged. If you're the prosecution and you want a slam dunk case against Sean Combs and you want justice for all of the alleged federal crimes he committed, you know, the problem with the minor victim for a defendant like that is there's no consent defense anymore. Do you think it's like we want to be as specific as possible with these charges? We don't want to make this case overly broad. The bigger it becomes, the more risk it'll fall down. Thoughts?
I don't buy that. I think the prosecution wanted as many victims as it could get. But I think the prosecution had to scrutinize every potential victim to, first of all, are they going to show up, right? We have an issue with one of the three, whether or not they're going to show up. So they had to scrutinize that. And also, how are their claims? How are they going to be on cross-examination? How is it going to play? They wanted multiple victims. The only way this case is what it is because there are multiple victims. This is not a RICO case if it's just what he did to one person, no matter how horrible it was. That doesn't get you to racketeering. So they need the multiple victims.
And that brings up a good question I have. If you read the indictment, let me rephrase that. There's been many superseding indictments.
Yeah.
It says alleged victims, right? Alleged victim 1, 2, 3, 4. But then it says victims including, like victims, many victims including alleged victim 1, 2, 3, 4. Does that mean we're going to hear other people who are not enumerated as one of the alleged victims, but are just other victims in the case? Because I don't.
It could be. They could bring people who are other victims in the case, especially the way the case is pled, the way the case is being tried. Now, they would have had to tell the defense by now who those potential witnesses are, and I assume, well, I don't know if we would have heard about it in this particular. Usually you would have heard about it. You would see it on the docket, but I don't know.
So talking about this alleged criminal enterprise and how, based on the opening statement from yesterday, he didn't just have staff who were helping him commit the crimes, but also covering them up. Just now, an update from court. Prosecutor asks Cassie Ventura, how would he keep tabs on you? To which she apparently responds, he didn't live far apart. We didn't live far apart. He'd send security to come find me or a trusted assistant. Like who? David James, Christina Coram, who we all know has been a central figure in this case. Maybe not the criminal case, but she's come up in lawsuits before. The prosecutor asks her, was your relationship exclusive? Ventura replies, no. If she's naming names like David James or Christina Coram, do they have to testify, you think?
I don't think they have to testify, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I would think this is all planned out, that she's going to indicate some people and then the prosecution is going to bring them in later in the trial to verify, right? One thing you really want to do with a witness like this, the defense is going to say that she's embellishing. They might say she's lying, but that's going to be a little hard to do with that video, right? They can't just say she's a liar, but they're going to say she's exaggerating, she's embellishing, they're painting it a certain way because of the case. So you have to bring in these corroborating witnesses and whatever other corroborating evidence you have to verify what it is she's saying. So it would be very useful, for example, if she says, yes, David James came around to check on me on behalf of Mr. Combs, and then David James takes the stand and says, yes, I did that.
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
Well, and yesterday they talked about the defense, her lawsuit in 2023, her attorney being in the courtroom, that she has an incentive, a monetary incentive to fabricate this situation. We've got a question from...
But how does she have a monetary incentive if she already got paid? So this is done now. Do you know what I'm saying? In my head, I was thinking like they could summon you to court and make you, but they were just saying they couldn't make people do like speak or whatever. So I am very much thinking that she's there because she wants to be there speaking about this and wants the stories to be heard. She's already been paid. She's not going to get paid anything for this case after this. She's just setting the record straight.
Daniela, by the way, we're taking your questions on YouTube about this case, about Cassandra Ventura's testimony that's happening in real time. We're trying to update you as quickly as possible about what she says in that courtroom. No cameras in the courtroom, no audio in the courtroom. So this is the best we can do to bring you her testimony in real time. Question from Daniela, 3984, talking about the video. What version of the hotel video was played in the courtroom? Was it the sped up version? Now, I believe it was portions of the surveillance video, not the CNN video, and cell phone video that was taken by the security guard who testified, Israel Flores. He had apparently taken a cell phone video of the surveillance footage to show his wife, but that became a big pretrial issue about what the jury was going to see.
Yeah. And by the way, that story was a little odd. I took a video of it to show my wife. For what purpose? I mean, that was a little strange.
Well, you're not going to believe this happened, even though he didn't report it to the police.
I think it's going to be difficult. I think the defense would like you to believe that video's been doctored somehow, but I think they're going to have trouble sustaining that.
Hey, would you like a civil law question?
Yes, please.
Yes, this is our litigator here. Question from Teodora Bodurova. Can Cassie sue Diddy again if Diddy's found guilty as charged?
So, Cassie, if you remember, sued Diddy. And that was the first thing we really heard about this. That was before the video. There was this blockbuster lawsuit in November of 2023 that really put these allegations out there. And she was very detailed. In fact, the front page of her lawsuit had a trigger warning on it. It was so detailed. That case was settled the next day. And I would have to think that the settlement included an agreement that she wouldn't sue him again for anything. Usually, if you're going to settle like that and pay the kind of money she would have gotten paid for settling that lawsuit, you get what is known as a general release. And a general release means you don't sue me for anything that happened. Now, here's one caveat. Up to the date of this agreement. Up to the date of this agreement. So then if you the next day punch me in the face, I have a new lawsuit against you.
Yeah.
Right? But at least up to the agreement, she can't go back now and say, I want more money.
Well, for the same conduct, right? I mean, if he comes out and he did something to her, or allegedly did something to her after the agreement was signed.
Yeah. Presumably they got it. And it also, you have to make sure the release covers all of his companies, all of these other individuals who were involved. It has to be a general release of everybody. You don't want to leave any wiggle room to have a lawsuit.
We have a follow-up question to this from Fads. So why did he settle if he was innocent?
Well, I mean, people settle.
I don't want to hear what rubbish this guy's going to say for like playing devil's advocate. We already established that 50 Cent put it out. You wouldn't settle that quick. He settled that quick because he didn't want any of this going through trial. He didn't think it was going to then lead to a criminal trial, federal trial, whatever this actual trial is. But it happened anyway. So he's like, shit, I paid out the money and I got to do this.
All the time when they think they're not liable. People, with the thing that really surprised me when that case was filed is that the case was filed. Typically in a case like that, you draft the complaint and you send it to the defendant and you say, dear sir, please pay me a boatload of money or I'm going to file this publicly in court. And if
well, apparently she did do that first. Maybe that's just assumption, but I read a lot of things that reported that she attempted to ask him for 30 million to not go to not file it, and he ignored her, and then she filed it and he paid the next day. That could be bullshit though. I think a lot of things do seem to just be assumption on social media these days.
There's any merit to it, or if just for publicity reasons the defendant decides to negotiate and pay, and it never goes to court. So it fascinated me at the time that she actually filed that publicly and he settled it the next day. That unfortunately was pretty telling, that he didn't put up any fight on the lawsuit. He didn't even want to litigate it. He didn't even want to go to discovery. He wanted to settle it immediately.
And if he would have settled it before she filed it, I think we would have been in a very different position than we are today.
Oh, I totally agree, because that lawsuit, I think, is what sets this ship sailing.
I agree. Okay, update from court. Prosecutor asks Cassandra Ventura, did you see other men? Cassandra Ventura responds, yes. Prosecutor asks, did Sean see other women? Ventura responds, yes. He said, I am Puff Daddy. I was insanely jealous. Did you move to LA with him? Yes. He wanted to be close to his kids who were there. It goes to a theme from yesterday, where the defense owned up and said, yeah, he's jealous, he's angry, he's violent. He engaged in domestic violence. That 2016 video is indefensible. When you hear her testify like that, does it help the defense? Does it help the prosecution? Because the defense got in front of it. They didn't say he's a saint.
Well, it helps the prosecution, but the defense did the correct thing in opening statement, and they had to do it. They didn't have any choice. I mean, the defense couldn't walk into this trial and say he's the victim of a conspiracy to invent evidence against him. That was never going to work. The thing's on video, and there's lots of other evidence. So they were going to have to say, he is not a delightful guy. You people on the jury probably aren't going to like things that he did. He did engage in things we consider domestic violence, but this is a racketeering case. And I liked that about the opening statement. They made that very clear. You're going to have to judge the crimes alleged here, not whether you like him or dislike him.
Well, that is what that is. Very interesting. It's not like loads of stuff's come out that we didn't know. But it is interesting to watch, even just to watch that these simple things that we've seen are actually now being framed into a case that is being held accountable for, which is a good thing. They seem to think that some of the main takeaways from that, they seem to think he's at least going to be found guilty of one of the charges, which has a jail term of up to 10 years, but probably won't. He might walk for time served, etc. I think he will get done at least on the second one, maybe all three. At least the sex trafficking, the racketeering part, I don't have enough knowledge on. I was going to carry on. I really wanted to do this Amber Heard thing that's an hour long. I'm just going to do it another day. I've got my equipment set up. I've got the ball rolling. We did a lot of Diddy stuff today. Next time I'll probably do another update on whatever's going on with that case. I do own watchthetrial.com. What an amazing website. Maybe I need to start hosting this stuff over there. Yeah, Amber Heard trial stuff, this trial. I want to do some more stuff going back over the Tory Lanez trial. Yeah, so I'll do the Amber Heard thing next time. Next time we'll do more Ren. I ain't covered Tom McDonald in a long time. My old nemesis. I will go back and cover some Tom McDonald. We'll go over some more whatever new. I still ain't never watched that nonsense he done with Roseanne or whatever. I just weren't active at that time. I missed so much stuff that I could get so many views on the internet because of not being consistent, not being in the mind state at the time. It's just the way my brain works. As I said, I got certain diagnoses recently that made me understand my brain a bit better and understand, sometimes I don't even want to do this shit. But I feel like doing it at the moment, so I will. We'll see what happens. But big up anyone who watched, and anyone who watches these videos as I roll them out, because I'm just going to chop this video up into